Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of With a Side of Hustle, the opportunity for me to sit down with some friends and some colleagues and talk about their businesses or projects they're working on and help them tell their story and expand their network and community. Today, I'm joined by a very good friend, Mr. Rob Ferre. How are you, sir?
Good to see you. It's been such a long time. I mean, we've been
It
connected
has-
on Facebook,
Yeah.
social media, but now we're seeing each other virtually. This is awesome.
It's virtually, yeah. Most people I've connected with doing this interview process here has been obviously virtually. It's been a long time since we've actually been face to face.
Yes, at least we'll say 13 years.
Yeah.
I left Orlando where we knew each other 13 years ago, and I came back to Utah, which kind of looks like this. This is Salt Lake City. And
That's beautiful.
I started my business 13 years ago, Life of the Party Entertainment, but we were fellow Team Nick members at the Nickelodeon Hotel, which looked a little bit like this on the outside, and then a little bit like this in the courtyard. This is where we did a lot of our fun stuff.
That was the better angle there. That's
Yeah,
where I
right
spent
there.
most of my time getting the best host tan ever. Just hosting the poolside shows on that blue pool deck back there, and that was a good time. Nickelodeon, when spending some time in Nickelodeon Family Suites, which was called then, it no longer exists now. The hotel still does.
Yeah.
It's called Holiday Inn Family Suites, and it still has entertainment, but nothing like the Nickelodeon shows. What was your experience working? You're there when it opened as Nickelodeon, right?
So I moved to Orlando in 2004, and I started working for Mickey Mouse. I did the college program. What brings a lot of people to Orlando, and then they just stay. And so I did the college program, worked at MGM Studios, worked at the Jungle Cruise Haunted Mansion. And about a year into me living in Orlando, a friend of mine in 2005 said she was working at the Nick Hotel. And I'm like, what is this place? I want an audition. And so she was just a character attendant. And so I applied for a job in entertainment, and I became their second or third DJ.
Okay.
And so I was there probably 4 months or 5 months into it being opened. And so I was there towards the very beginning with some of the original crew and some of the original cast members. And so I did primarily DJ the nighttime shows, but I also hosted the breakfast show and the poolside show. So I got to host those, and I loved it. And I don't know if you were ever trained on this. Did you ever get trained on the breakfast show where you do the Honda load up, pivot up, Nick, Nick, Honda load up, pivot up, Nick, Nick, Honda, Ricky, Tiki, low, I really want no one, only one. I just messed up the last part.
How did you mess up the name Nickelodeon?
Remember that? But they had that all scripted out. Like I had heard that jingle like on Nickelodeon, and now I'm like, Honda Ricky Tiki Low Y Living #1 Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Oh, and so I would always rehearse it backstage, and that was my favorite thing to do. As they would open the doors to breakfast,
So
and then
dramatic. Yeah.
and then the characters would come out, and then I'm like, and I go Honda load up, pivot up. Honda load up, pivot up, Nick, Nick. And I loved singing that. And that was like one of my favorite things was doing the breakfast show. It was such a simple show, but I loved it. I loved interacting and doing dances and just interacting with the people. The poolside shows were a lot of fun. The nighttime shows were the ultimate ones, but I was the DJ in the back. And but I also, before things changed for us, we were talking about this before with Michelle, our first manager, who was amazing. She gave me some leeway to do some fun stuff, and I would do pre-show entertainment.
Yep.
I'd do interactive dances and things like that, and so I would get the crowd all warmed up. We do like Macarena or something like that, and getting the people ready to go. And then once the show started, it blew up. It was such a fun time in my life.
It was a really good time too. I think the most we always interacted on stage was during Who Knows Best, which is sort of this like
yes
family knows best, and it was sort of a dating game, match game, newlywed game.
It's like the newlywed game with a parent and a child.
Yeah, and you would always reveal the answers, or I forget what it was, but there was always a back and forth between the host and the DJ, and it was like, oh God, Rob's here tonight. This is going to be a good time and a good show. So now you said you did Jungle Cruise as well. Was entertainment and performing always in the blood, or did when was there this like what was it that made you go, this is my life?
Oh, this was my life. That's when it started in Orlando. But I mean, I did it all throughout elementary school, high school, college. You know, I did theater all throughout high school. You know, I was a theater kid. In college, I did improv. In college, I actually went for broadcast communications. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be an anchor or whatever, but I didn't really see the entertainment value in that to Orlando, Florida. And then when I moved there, I got recruited to be a part of a company called Electromagic by Elliot Hansen. They were based in Universal Studios. So I started DJing at Universal Studios at Men in Black. I was like, as people waited in line for the ride, I did DJ. I also DJed at Spider-Man. But one of my favorite jobs was working at Universal City Walk, and I would host events there. I would generate a crowd for the nighttime show with Orange Avenue, the band, and some other performances. And so I did that, and that was a lot of fun. And so in Orlando, I was there for 3 years, and I tell people I got my MFE, my Master's of Family Entertainment, which is not a real degree, but that's what happened to me. And so living there in Orlando, that's when I was like, this is what I'm going to do. But to even come back, I came back to Utah and I started my DJ business. But when I first started, I wanted it to be, as you would say, the side hustle, which eventually became my job, because I tried to dabble in other things. I tried getting day jobs within broadcast, or I even tried dabbling in education. I was a substitute teacher for a while, and I realized it wasn't really for me when I swore at a kid. You know, it was just like,
Never a good way to.
No. And I was like, you know what? I'm a better entertainer than disciplinarian. And so I had to kind of change, and it took me a while, because I started my business during, like, you know, the housing bubble recession. You know, I started in 2007, and we were, you know, we were in a recession in 2008, 2009. But, you know, I was still in my 20s, and I was living with some friends, and I didn't have a family to support. So I just learned as I went. And then I realized then, I'm like, this is what I'm doing full time. So it no longer became a side hustle. There are side hustles within my entertainment business, you know, and so, I mean, we can talk about that, but I got it to work, and it's a lot of fun being able to be your own boss. Cause, you know, there were days in Orlando where I would do the morning show at Nickelodeon, right? I would host that, and then I go do a shift over at the Haunted Mansion, and then that night I would go DJ at Downtown Disney. You know, so I did so many different things. Those were some crazy times, but I learned a lot at the same time.
I think that's sort of what the entertainment-esque world is here in Orlando. And there are so many other outlets. There's Disney, Universal, there's SeaWorld, there's all the hotels, there's all the opportunity to really hone in on different skills and find the best skill set for you, which is why when I went, I came from cruise ships hosting to Nickelodeon. And then with my time within Nickelodeon, I was like, I love doing this. I don't love doing it here. So I went back to Cruise Line, and then subsequently other things led to that. But you left Nickelodeon to start your own thing. You moved back to Utah.
Yeah, I came back to Utah, and I started my DJ business, which is called Life of the Party Entertainment. And when I first started it, it was just me. And then along the way, I gathered up different DJs, people that wanted to start working for me. And I started training other people. And I don't have employees. I more represent DJ talent. Some I've trained from the ground up. Okay. But most of my guys, I am kind of a white label talent agency for DJs. You go to my website, and there's different DJs listed, and they work for me. And so I've been doing that for 13 years. Wow. But along the way, I've built up other facets of the business. Right.
Other aspects. And a lot of it has become more, the part that I'm interested in chatting with today is the personal branding of it all. You have lended yourself into hosting events, your own game show. Let's go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about there. Let's talk about the best game show ever. How, obviously coming from Nickelodeon and sort of that game show background, where did that idea come from? How has it taken off, and where are we headed with it?
It's interesting because being in the DJ world, I have learned a lot by going to conferences. I think that is, right now we're in the middle of the Corona COVID crisis, and we're doing everything virtual, social distancing. But back when we used to have in-person live conferences, I'd go to the DJ conferences, and I could see the possibilities of my business and seeing what other people are doing. and a lot of DJs do game shows. I started learning in mimicking what other DJs were doing, but I wanted to create something that was not like a franchise or I bought in, because there's other things like there's things called like DJ trivia, but there was a guy named Scott Favor who does, you know, game shows, but he would do it kind of like as team training, but he also did it to get people to the dance floor. So he's doing a corporate event, a Christmas party, and his goal is to bring people to the dance floor through gamification. But I wanted to create something, to coming back to my Nickelodeon roots, to create game shows without pies and slime. I don't want to be that messy, but so I created my own brand, which is Best Game Show Ever. And so I wanted to create something that was fun and unique. I always tell people when I grow up, I want to be a game show host. And I wanted to create something that was unique to me, but it was my own game show. So I do take elements of other existing game shows, but I wanted to create something that was unique to me. And so it's interesting because I have 3 different websites I could and where I find people, you know, so Live is the DJ business, and then DJ Rob Utah is more for my kids events, where I do a lot of field days, assemblies, and things like that. And right now I'm doing virtual assemblies and virtual events for kids. But then I also have robferre.com, which goes to my speaking. I'm now even considering just creating a Best Game Show Ever website where you can just book me there. I'm trying to funnel people in the right direction and not get the messaging confused with my other brands, if that makes sense. Because I think that's one of the problems I found out along the way is people going, well, I went to Live at the Party and it looks like you guys do weddings, but you're a game show host? What? You know, and so robferre.com is more geared towards my speaking and my emceeing. And so, but the game show is on there. Uh-huh. So that's probably the next project, you know, more money to put into that. But, sure. But I think if you are doing something like that, you can't confuse your message to your potential buyers, because they want to look and they say, oh, this is what he does, and this is the solutions he has, and this is what he can create. And so that's why I have separate brandings, especially with my DJ Rob, which is my school stuff. Like, I don't want that to be confused at all with any of my other corporate brand or my wedding brand or whatever. And so I have to create separate logos, separate entities. The business is called Life of the Party. So when you write out a check, that's where it goes to. Yeah. But you have different
within that umbrella. There's all those different facets.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's what I've created. So if we're talking about side hustles, you know, the one brand is Life of the Party. These are the different elements that I can offer.
Did the game show aspect lend itself into the speaking engagements, or was that something that you had really focused on at some point in time as well?
Yeah. So they've all kind of were born in different stages. Sure. So speaking started when I started speaking at industry events. When I say industry events, DJ events. I tell people technically my first speaking job was on the back of a tram at MGM Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, you parked your car in Goofy 55. Lower your head, watch your step. If you don't lower your head, watch your language. This is a family theme park. And so I was that guy, you know. I started doing assemblies. And so that's technically speaking. So I did assemblies for schools. And then I started speaking at industry conferences, at DJ conferences, at wedding conferences. And so I started speaking there. And I was like, ooh, I like this. And so I joined what is called the National Speakers Association. They have a chapter down there in Florida called NSA Central Florida, but we have one here in Utah, and I joined that chapter about 5 years ago. I went to my first meeting. I'm like, I'm hooked. That is where I really started diving into speaking. I do have a keynote. I do have breakout sessions. There is differences, and people are like, so you're a speaker, like a motivational speaker? I'm like, sure. But there's a lot of different facets within speaking. You know, there's self-development, and then there's motivational, there's leadership, but then people speak on niches. I do speak on gamification, how to gamify your workplace, how to gamify your life. I speak on business relationships. Within the wedding industry, I work with Wedding Wire and The Knot. It's called Wedding Pro. I'm one of their educators. And so people pay me to go at different places, but in a perfect world, the thing I love doing the most is emceeing. And that is also and emceeing there's different ways to MC or different master ceremonies. Or at Nickelodeon, I would consider what we did there hosting. We were hosts, right? Yeah, totally. And a master ceremonies is more geared towards a wedding where there are ceremonies, right? And MCEE, that's more of like a corporate guy who comes in is over the entire show, the segues, the the introductions, things like that. And so I love to MC. I went to Dubai a year ago, which was an amazing experience. I MC'd Destination Wedding Planners Conference. I spoke on gamification in Armenia. I spoke on business and networking in Italy. So speaking has taken me all over the world. I was supposed to be in England a month ago in the UK to speak at a DJ conference. That didn't happen. But speaking for me is really opened up the world to me. And I always tell people one of my goals is to take my wife around the world and get paid to do it. So
you're supposed to be getting there. You're on the right path.
I'm on the right path. I'm not doing it as much as I want. I do play the comparison game because I am dabbling in so many different worlds. My problem is I got the DJ business, the game show business, the speaking, and so I kind of I'm probably doing all three kind of like in thirds or whatever.
You got your own hats. You got all the hats going on. You got to remember who's to who and where you're going from there. For the past couple of years, I've attended a conference in Boston called Inbound. It's basically sort of this big marketing conference. It was put on by HubSpot. And every year there's these speakers from every walks of life, right? And it's the 4-day conference. And again, it goes into that personal growth and leadership and marketing and sales. So thinking about that in the inbound marketing mindset, marketing wise, I'm sure is difficult for a lot of people. So what is advice you might have for someone who is trying to sell themselves as a host or an MC or that public speaker? Because I'm sure it's a huge component of what you do.
And I get this advice a lot, and I'm not always taking the advice, but I'll give out this advice.
Giving out is what we want. We want the giving out. What
you got to do is you got to put out into the universe what you want. And so sometimes as an MC, that's the hardest thing, is trying to find that avenue and people buying that. It really is hard. I think the best way to get started is in your own local community. Start at home, start doing events. And the thing about speaking, a lot of people, there's this dirty word, doing things for free. And you have to do it. I also tell people to change their mindset. You're not doing it for free. You're waiving your fee to be able to. But, when people approach you and they say, hey, you'll get a lot of exposure, can you do this for free? What you need to do is just say, I will waive my fee if we can do this. Right. So get a quid pro quo in the sense that you'll be able to get footage or testimonials. I mean, I emceed a lot of events, but I think one of the first kind of bigger gigs that I did that was I just showed up with a microphone and a script, right? Was a gala, and it was a charity gala. And this guy took a chance on me, but did it for free. But it was a great experience for me. And then from then on, I kept approaching people, hey, let me do this. And so I think I think that's a great way to start, is maybe a charity gala. You can't do what my friend John Petz says. He doesn't do this. He says, don't show up and throw up. There's a lot of people who just do their thing. And a lot of people don't realize what value a host and MC can bring to an event. Sure. And I think you give more value if you are a creative collaborator, which I do. Also approach it as if you are going to bring the energy, the entertainment, the engagement value, which I do. You are the person who can help write the script, be the bridge. You are the connector between this part to this part. Know your audience. I know a lot of people sometimes show up and they do their shtick or their routine, and it falls flat because it doesn't resonate with that crowd. And so bring your personality, bring your energy, but no, not every shtick or routine works for every audience. Adapt to your audience and adapt to your environment.
So I'm going to go back to what you began that answer with your community and knowing your surroundings. You are doing something right now that I think is absolutely incredible because of the situation that we're in, the COVID era of the world. You are doing the Doorstep DJ right now, which I saw a video on Facebook of it, which is why I was like, I got to talk to Rob, because this is such a cool idea. How obviously that sort of came out of necessity of the time, but let's focus on that for a few minutes. Where did that idea come from? How is it going? Where do you hope it could go in the future.
If you're an entertainer and you're watching this, you're probably out of work right now. It's interesting being in this world, entertainer, speaker, DJ. Half of my Facebook connections are through the speaking and entertainment and DJ world. Maybe even more than half, but my social media connections. And so I'm seeing how everybody is out of work. We have to do work in front of audiences. And right now, we're not allowed to be in front of audiences. Right now in Utah, we can have 20 people audiences, but like that would lend it way to maybe a small either party or maybe even a small. Yeah, it doesn't work. The big word right now is pivot. Right? I'm seeing how my speaker friends are going virtual. Right now, I'm working on my virtual studio right now, and I'm working on how to do things virtually. And then I saw all my DJ friends get on Facebook, get on Instagram, and start streaming. Like if you have a friend that is a DJ, you've probably seen them streaming on Facebook, right? And when it first started, it was terrible. But DJs have evolved. DJs are really just like, they're all about technology. They're all about their gear. They're all about how the music sounds. And now the DJ streams are amazing. And so I'm watching them evolve. But the thing is, I was like, okay, I could DJ in my room or in my house. And yeah, it's very passive. And so, but I'm also watching DJs be very creative to keep people on the stream. Okay. But I thought, what I do best is in front of audiences and crowds. And so I approached my assistant. And I said to her, Melissa, who is my assistant, I said, why don't we do an event in your neighborhood? And I know you're always up for this and you have a fun neighborhood. She's like, yes, let's do it. And this idea, I was just at my parents' house. We were having lunch, and we were all quarantined. I still went to my parents' house. I'm like, oh, wow, people, don't judge me for it. And I have another DJ friend. He did driveway DJ. I thought of a doorstep DJ. And then there's another friend of mine who did drive up DJ, so we're all using the Ds. Yeah. I went with doorstep DJ, but I thought of this idea and we did a beta test, as I call it. We went to her neighborhood and we did it. And the cool thing is when we did it at her neighborhood, they're considered a community, not just sure. Like I'm driving up to her house, like the ice cream man created an event. We did this beta test. People came home. One of the organizers invited the news to come. Like I didn't even know. And so once we got on the news, I was able to share that and people were like, what? And then I did another one 2 weeks later where another news station came and I shared that. And then I created this video and it's caught within my own social community. Sure. I'm not really marketing it, but the word of mouth is getting out there. One lady booked me because I went up to a neighborhood north of here and her daughter was there and I had no association with her daughter before that, but like the word is getting out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the whole idea is to connect with my community.
Right.
And what I'm doing is I'm doing it based on donations only. I'm not saying, hey, this is the fee. If you can give a donation, great. But I'm doing it in the spirit of I want to perform and I want to give an opportunity to my community to check out of this quarantine, be able to walk outside, see their neighbors from a safe distance. But the coolest thing about it is the connecting is the music and the dance. We are connecting in a different way. We are now dancing to the same music. We're grooving. We're doing all the same things. And so that was my goal, is to get people just an opportunity to check out and be able to spread joy around my Utah community.
It's a great time to do it because everything is, again, slowly reopening and everyone's kind of reimagining what social interacting is like. And I think you say on your video, it's social interacting while social distancing, which I think is that's a great tagline for it.
My wife came up with it. Socially distanced dance parties without being socially distant.
Do you will that continue? Will that be something you move forward with outside of this?
I'm going to continue doing it, and what it's done is it's given me recognition, a platform, and people are now calling me for other things, and it's not just these community parties. People now want to do Sweet 16s. I'm doing teacher appreciation events. I'm doing school events. The Doorstep DJ, socially distanced dance parties without being socially distant. I am now, and I think this is something that if you have any other friends who are in entertainment, you need to be top of mind at this point. Right totally. Now you're creating this and you're being top of mind. I want to be known for a host. What are you putting out into the universe at this time? Be top of mind. Let people know what you're doing and what you want to be doing. And it's just kind of putting out that vibe of like, this is what I want to create and this is what I want to do. And so that's what's really been helpful for me, is just being able to just put that out into the world.
I think it goes back to the marketing stuff we were talking about before. Like, it's just one more thing to put you in front of somebody who does this, who will use you for that. And again, the community aspect of it is something that really I think people will grasp onto and go, oh, he's not just in it for himself. He really, and I think this is something that I've always admired about you. And even going back to the Nickelodeon days, is that you truly get everyone involved and you make everyone feel like they are part of the show, if not the show itself. And I commend you for that ability, because there's a lot of people who are out there who do the entertainment hosting thing, who are simply here for what's in it for me. But you have always come across to me as someone who is what it's for the next person, or for the greater good.
Entertainers, a lot of us are very egocentric. We like being in the spotlight, and I love it. But what fuels me is the energy of my audiences.
Sure.
It's so being able to give to them, so they can give back to me, so that we can have this amazing moment together. We're creating moments and memories, and being able to highlight people, saying it's about you, giving them something, because people want that. And it's a lot of that in the speaking community too, making your message about them. How does it apply to you? Your audience likes to feel like they're the most important people in the room, whatever. They want to feel connection. And so that's what we're creating. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. And the thing is, if you give value, if you put out into the universe something for free, something that gives value to people, it will come back. Not all the time. You don't necessarily get monetary value all the time, but I do believe a little bit of karma comes back. The people who are better marketers and better salespeople probably make more money than I do, but I'm just trying to make a living, in the sense that I want to exist and thrive, but I don't think I need to capitalize on this monetarily, because a lot of other DJs have approached me about this and like, how do I do this? And they're like, how do I make money? I'm like, it's not really about making money, because money is relative for me now. Like, if I can come home from an event, I get $100 in donations, like, awesome, that will pay for groceries. Right. And so right now I'm not really making a whole lot of living. I'm making a surviving. And so not a lot of profits coming in.
But it also, like you said, it also comes back to what you did during this time will then relate when someone's looking for wanting to pay someone to do it. They'll go, oh, he worked his ass off and didn't have to, so let's return that to him now. I think that's a mentality a lot of people don't necessarily have or even think about. And that's not even in Corona time, that's in general. Again, putting out that free content, putting out content in general allows someone later to go, oh, that guy over that guy.
And the people being successful are the ones that are pivoting and who've reacted right away, who started. And so there are some things I wish I would have done right away, but this thing I started very early on, maybe a week into this. I have a lot of friends in the speaking world who have built up their virtual studios, have already put out demo reels, and they're working. And so that's my next step. I've kind of been slow on this virtual studio, but it's not relatively, like, I'm maybe ahead of the curve, but with my friends who are super successful in the speaking business, they've already just put out some amazing things.
And that's kind of what happened with me. Like, I openly admit to, like, I've been thinking about this idea for this show over a year ago. Back in August of last year, I had it all put together, and then life just happened and got in the way. And then I was like, oh, April, I'll do it. And then April was a mopey sort of like depression month of where am I, what's happening. And then finally woke up on my birthday and was like, I gotta do something to keep myself engaged. So that's why I started reaching out to friends like you who have started their own businesses and are now thriving in their business. So this is collectively, the umbrella of all the things that you do is 13 years old.
13 years in business, yeah. But here's the thing about it: it's a lifetime of work.
Right.
I imagine a lot of you guys have put a lot of time into your craft. Now, you could start your business tomorrow, but that doesn't mean you've been working on your craft for a year, or just a month. And that's the hardest thing. Let's be honest with a lot of us entertainer types. Some of us are more wired towards creativity and performing, not necessarily building a business.
Right.
That was hard for me. I didn't get into the entertainment business to be in business, and so that's the hard thing. And I feel like there's a lot better entertainers who are suited for the business aspect of it, the marketing, the day-to-day emails, sitting down. Like in a perfect world, I just need like an agent and my assistant to do bookings, and I just work on the creative aspect, and I just show up and rock it.
I go back to thinking about when I was doing acting stuff and all the theater. Like, if I had the business sense that I have now, then I think I would have been a much more successful actor than I am presently. And I think that's the mentality, I guess, us in the entertainment world. You want to be creative and you want that outlet, but there still has to be that other side of it that you're working on as well, especially when you're working by yourself. And then obviously you have an assistant, you have someone helping you, so you're able to jockey the position of, I'll do this, you do that, and life happens.
The successes in my business have been really a lot about the connections I've made and the people I've been mentored by and learned by. So if you're just getting into this, the biggest key is finding a mentor. Number one, find a mentor. Find somebody that you can emulate, somebody that you can work with. And one of the best things to do is actually pay that person, because then you've invested in your education. And I think people work harder when they've put money down on something.
Yeah.
And then you have access to that person. I always say, if you have a mentor, leader, a coach, whatever, invest in that person, and then you have accountability, and then you'll be able to grow that way. And then just trying to create those connections, and then joining an association, a group, speakers association. I got my gig in Italy because of the speakers association, and me getting my event in Dubai. Just having those relationships, getting referrals, and people believing in you. So I'm getting a little bit more momentum within the speaking industry because of my relationships. Not much of my pick up my bootstraps and do all the cold calling. I hate doing it. I probably should be doing more of it. It's just a different approach. It's a little bit slower. It's a slow burn than a faster burn than me knocking on doors, because I hate sales. Yeah. But a speaker friend of mine named Phil Gerbyshak down in Tampa, he says, well, Rob, you're selling yourself. So you are in sales. You're selling your brand and your personality and your relationships. I'm like, oh, okay. I never thought of it that way.
So where are we headed from here? What is the hope for all the things coming out of this time?
I'm not optimistic that we're going to get out of this to normalcy like we were, let's say, a year ago or before this all started, for another year. I think it's going to take a while before we get a vaccine and people are feeling comfortable going to events, going to theme parks, going to watching shows. It's going to be tough for us. I'm doing a consultation with a virtual streaming coach who's helping me set up everything here in my office, trying to find out how to do that. But I also have partners that I work with if I want to be able to do that. But just being a resource and being somebody that can do things virtually. But I'm not going to give up on live events. We're going to get creative. And the other thing is I have a really cool, really great DJ community here in Utah where we often collaborate and we all want to be working. And so we all have different skill sets. I'm more the performer type, and then I'm working with a guy who converted a school bus into a mobile DJ station. And so he drives from neighborhood to neighborhood, and we're going to do some events together. Don't feel like you need to be on an island. Like, I can't do this. I don't want my competition. Like, start collaborating with people, start doing things together, find different aspects, maybe find somebody who's maybe more technical minded or marketing minded, and start collaborating on events. And so the hope is just to come out of this and start doing more events virtually and socially distant. I do have a wedding scheduled in a couple of weeks, so that should be happening. Luckily, Utah is in phase 2. By then, we'll probably be in phase 3. So we'll see.
Gotcha. Very, very cool. Where can we find you?
You can go to robferre.com, ROBFERRE. And then I think that's the best way. I like to people follow me on Instagram at Rob Ferre. And those are probably the 2 best ways to follow me, connect with me, send me a message. If you want to learn more, just want to, as people say, pick my brain, pick your brain, whatever it may be. I also tell people not to use that term. Say, I would love to, because I know it's the one way, but picking someone's brain feels like a one-sided thing. You
Sure.
know, if somebody say, "Can I pick your brain?" I'm like, I think complimenting somebody instead of like, "Give me your secrets."
Yep,
That's what picking brains sounds like. So
yeah,
yeah.
definitely, I agree. Well, I'll be sure to add all those links, of course, into the description below here on YouTube. Anything else you want to share with us before we sign off?
Start reaching out to people that you haven't reached out to in a while. Start connecting. We have time. We
Exactly.
have these virtual abilities. Start calling people. Start just connecting and saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" But I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Rob. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll talk to you again soon. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, notification bell, all the things. It's the YouTube mantra. Thanks again for watching videos, and we will see you next time.